versus if you have good inventory management system, then you will be relaxed, and there will be automatic tracking of orders, monitoring of orders, sales, deliveries, etc. Well-planned inventory, neither overstock, not understock. Whatever is the sufficient stock that you have in your warehouse. Clear-cut supply and accountability, improved customer satisfaction, cost-efficient operations, miscalculated inventory is not there, demand forecast is accurate, accurate order performance, perfect order cycle time. So everything is falling perfectly, and your finally business is showing growth. That is the sign of good inventory management. Who should be accountable for inventory management activities? Like I said earlier, it's not one man's job. All the teams, like starting from marketing, sales, finance, production, purchase, all these teams have to work together for inventory management system. So purchasing team is responsible for working with suppliers for reducing lead times, reducing order quantities. Like instead of buying in bulk, you can have small orders multiple times, or the lead time should be as minimum as possible. Like you place the order today, and if you are getting material after 1 month, that should not happen. The lead time should be as low as possible. So this is the responsibility of purchasing team. So purchasing team has to maintain relations with the suppliers and work with them continuously for minimizing the order quantity and minimizing the lead time, as well as minimizing the cost. Then marketing team, they have to give proper forecast to the production team, to the purchase team, that if there is, like we took example of some offer marketing team is running, and then your entire production and purchase planning is disturbed. So that should not happen. Marketing team will have some plan with them, and they should share it with all these teams. Then warehouse team is responsible for accepting the goods from the supplier, maintaining it at proper conditions like temperature, humidity, whatever is the storage conditions required. They have to maintain it properly. They have to supply correct quantity to the production team and store the finished goods, maintain all the documentation related to quality, batch number, expiry date, all those things, all the paperwork, they have to do it, warehouse team, and they have to maintain it for fixed amount of time. Like I said, for 7 years, they have to maintain all the record. They should have all the traceability, which material came in when, which lot number was it, which batch number, what was the expiry, and in which batch of production that raw material is used. So all these documentation is very much important, and that's the responsibility of warehouse team. And then inventory specialist can be one person or one team who is basically coordinating with all these teams. So there is like one man or these warehouse team cannot coordinate with all these things. So typically in bigger companies, there is a team who will coordinate with all these things, as well as they will run some mathematical modeling simulation in the background to minimize all the cost related to inventory management. So let's take example how you will go into losses if you don't have proper inventory management. Like in this example, we have two companies, company A and company B. Both have same annual sales, that is $5 million. Both have fixed assets, exactly same $2.5 million. Both of them. Both the companies have same number of employees, 85. Their stock value is different. Now here is the important point. Like company A is a small company, and it is tightly monitoring its inventory, and they have inventory of $5 500,000 or $5 lakh worth of inventory. And company B is part of bigger multinational group, and they have some standards set from the multinational group, and they are trying to adhere it. And in that big show, basically, they have the inventory which is 5 times as that of company A. That means 25 lakhs of dollars worth of inventory they have. And just because of the higher inventory, what extra cost they have to bear is $323,000. So this is the extra cost they have to bear just because of this bigger stock they are maintaining. And this extra cost comes from all these points. Like they have to pay higher rent because they will require a bigger warehouse to store bigger inventory. So higher rent for bigger warehouse, storage conditions, temperature and humidity. Bigger the warehouse you have, you will spend more on maintaining the temperature and humidity in your warehouse. Then equipment like material movement equipment, forklift, etc., the racks, storage racks, trucks, etc. There will be more expense on that. Maintenance will be bigger because you have a bigger facility for the warehouse. Stock obsolescence, then depreciation of all those equipments, storekeepers' wages, employment cost will be bigger because you will require more number of employees to maintain all this big show. Annual stock taking will charge something because you have at the end of any financial year, finally you have to find out how much is in the stock. So typically when we run a business at the end of financial year, that is on 31st of March, we have to take stock of whatever is there in the warehouse. That is called as stock taking. So how much is the raw material? What is cost of that? How much is the finished product ready? What is cost of that? All those things we have to done at the end of typically we should done at end of financial year, and bigger companies also do it quarterly. So the stock taking will cost you. If there is a bigger inventory, then there is higher cost associated with that. Then control systems and computer time, like you are maintaining everything on the software, then you have a lot many items to enter in the software. Maybe you require more manpower there. And finance charge like interest, which will be charged on buying of that much inventory of the raw material. So that interest will come. So all these points together, company B has to bear extra cost of 3,23,000. So this is the extra cost they have to bear. Now sales revenue is same for both the companies because their size is basically same. And profit, you can see here now, profit for first year is $250,000, and company B is in loss by $73,000. Year 2, company A made profit of $5 lakh, company B made profit of $1,77,000. So in spite of same revenue, same annual sales, same assets, same employees, everything is same. Just because they had a higher inventory, they went into losses or they made lesser profit in here. So that's the importance of inventory management. And that's why you have to minimize the inventory to as low value as possible. So that is very much important. So these are the factors which will affect the stock in your warehouse. So purchase order quantity, like I said, there can be some minimum order quantity for buying any material or the transport cost is associated, etc., etc. So you have to continuously work with your suppliers and try to minimize the order quantity, try to minimize the lead time, try to minimize the transport cost, etc. So all these things you have to take into consideration. You have to take into consideration your batch size, like if you have to run say 2 tons of batch in a day, then and if it is not economic to run 1 ton of batch, then that you have to again quantify with the cost associated with the purchase and cost associated with the inventory management. So if cost associated with inventory management is more, sometimes it is okay to bear some cost in the production with lesser batch time, batch size or higher batch size. Then safety or buffer stock, like there can be unexpected peaks in orders, like you don't know exactly, or you cannot predict what will happen in the market, and then there can be unexpected peaks in the demand, or like there can be higher demand or there can be lower demand as well. So to cope up with the higher demand, typically we should have some buffer stock or some safety stock with us, and that will take care of all those unexpected peaks in the demand. Also, there can be failure of the supply side. Like if you are getting material from very distant, like for example, in our company we get tea extracts from say Assam. So we have to consider all the things like season in Assam. Like if there is a flood condition in Assam, then we cannot get tea extract in time, or there can be some transport problem, etc. Political problems, anything can happen. So that failure on the supply side you have to account for, and that's why you should have some buffer stock. Non-delivery of purchase goods, like you produce some finished goods, but they are not delivered. Then information failure, like marketing team didn't pass on the information correctly, correct numbers are not passed on, or technical breakdown, anything can happen. And that's why you should have some buffer stock or safety stock. Market change, like consumers change their mind. Like you have some beverage line and consumers are preferring say mango drink, and suddenly for some unknown reason, now instead of mango drink, they prefer now strawberry drink. So that can happen. They can change their mind. We cannot predict that. So that's why then that will affect your inventory. Forecasting method that is not reactive enough. Like you could not predict what's going on in the market correctly, then you cannot forecast the number correctly, and then everything will go wrong. Obsolescence, that is lack of communication from marketing team, sales team to the purchase team. Then change in formulation, packaging material. Like for example, R&D team suddenly changed the formulation, and they discarded one ingredient which was in earlier formulation and incorporated new ingredient, and that was not communicated properly with the purchase team. Then the raw material which is required for the production is already purchased. Now that one ingredient is no more in use, then you have to discard it, because you have purchased it from whoever is the vendor. He will not take it back, and the new ingredient you have to buy it. That should not happen. Or the change in packaging material, like you change the design and you don't take into consideration how much is the packaging material already purchased and in stock with you, and suddenly you decided that instead of now red color packaging, we will use blue color packaging. So that sudden change will affect the cost of production, inventory management, everything will go wrong. And miscellaneous factors like poorly defined responsibility, who is responsible for what, unplanned inventories, layout and locations of stores. Like if you are purchasing, like typically for multinational companies, if you have like production facilities at 4 places in the country, and you are purchasing say raw material from different locations. Like suppose if you are processing wheat and you are purchasing wheat from different locations, and there are some facilities located across the country, then from which production this thing, like raw material supply where is that raw material supply coming from, and where is your location of factory, then where is your location of market. That means if you are producing at one location and selling at other location, other end of the country, then the transport cost and all those are associated with your profit, and that's why you have to optimize all those things. Company strategy, detailed information on processing excellence. So these are the miscellaneous factors. Then when we talk about customer service, basically, so if you see this graph, then customer service is close to zero when you don't have any stock in hand, basically, because customer will order something and if you don't have any stock left with you for supply, then your customer service factor is basically close to zero, and it will go on increasing with increase in available stock. And if you see, sometime it will come to plateau, but it will not plateau exactly. And customer service, if you want to meet 100%, then theoretically or practically you should have infinite stock in hand. So that is not possible. You cannot have infinite stock in hand or stock in warehouse, basically. So there is the 100% customer satisfaction is not possible theoretically. So that's why you have to optimize somewhere, like whatever stock you can hold and how much you please the customer. There has to be some balance, and here are different formulas by which the availability is calculated. And there is one example also, like availability is demand satisfied divided by total demand, or one formula is total number of items supplied divided by total number of items ordered, and total number of completed orders and total number of orders. So here are we are taking into consideration orders, and here we are taking into consideration items. So there is a difference. So let's see this example here. So like there are two SKUs, A12 and B35, let's say some random names, and two SKUs you are supplying to some customer. Now he demanded for 1,000 units of A12 SKU and 10 units of B35 SKU. Instead of 1,000, there is a shortage, and you supplied. Sorry, there is a mistake here. It should be 100. So instead of 100, you supplied. Sorry, there is some mistake. Okay, sorry. So instead of 1,000, you supplied 999. Sorry, 990 items. So there is shortage of 10 units. And here, instead of 10 items, you supplied 5 items. So service level, customer service level is 99% here, because 10 out of 1,000 is just 1%. So 99% you completed the order. Here you supplied just 50% of the order. So service level is 50%. So total, if you are the seller, then you will calculate that I was 74% was my service level, and the sum is 98.5%. So this was my service level. So total, if it is a one customer, and if you take a total for that customer, then you will say that 98%, 98.5%, I was up to the mark. But your customer will calculate the other way. Like he will say there were 5 orders, out of which one order was shortage, these 10 items. So there was shortage in one order. So service level was 80%. Then this was only one order of 10 items, and there was shortage in that item. So service level was 0%, because it is not completed. And then service level overall average is 40%, or if you take a sum, it's 66%. So there is different ways of calculating the availability, and always customer will try to calculate from his point of view or for his benefit. And that's why you should be aware of how people calculate the service level for your company. So that's why all these definitions should be aware. You should be aware of all these things. So here you calculated like you said we were 74% correct, and customer will say no, you are just 40% up to the mark. So that's why we have to define availability policy for the company, and there are different uh, definitions related to that, like this same availability across all the products, like all the products will be available all the time, or minimizing the total cost of the service. uh, like all items may not be available. Frequently running items will be available in the warehouse. Lesser demand items may not be available. They will be supplied as per the order. Then concentrating on most valuable customers, concentrating on more the items which are more sellable, or which are giving more profit to you. So these are the different aspects or you have to consider, and different ways to look at the customer service. Then batch and expiry tracking. This is very important in food business. Like you have to track incoming and outgoings of the stock on a batch by batch basis. So for every batch of the production, whatever is the raw material used, you have to track the lot number and expiry dates for that. You have to track expiry dates and batch numbers for outgoing material. Then FIFO is the system used, like first in, first out. Whatever is the material coming in the warehouse first, that will go out of the warehouse first. So that is called as first in, first out. So we'll talk more on this. The short form is FIFO. Then minimize the spoilage and reduce stock write-off. Like if anything is expired on the shelf, you have to write it off. So write off from the book of accounts. So that is called as a write-off. So you have not used that ingredient, and you have to write off that ingredient because it expired. So this condition should not happen, and that's why you have to track the expiry and batch numbers very correct. So we talked about discard of expired items, and traceability. We have talked about that. So if anything is coming to expiry, then typically we will have offers. Like we can have offers like fresh batch is $2 for $50. Expiry, so this is near to expiry, and that's why $2 for $30. So the items which are expiring soon, you can give offers on that, and the freshly produced items, there may not be any offers for that. Then inventory analysis. There are two major methods for inventory analysis, and first is Pareto analysis, which is also called as 80-20 rule. So many times we say that 80% of the job is done in just 20% of the efforts. So same rule is applied here. Like 20% of your stock amounts for 80% of the cost, basically. So 80% of the stock value. So finally, everything comes down to cost, right? So 80% of the cost is associated with just 20% of the stock. So that's 80-20 rule. Or you can also say 80% of the purchased items come from 20% of the suppliers. Then 20% of the sales lines gives 80% of the turnover. So just 20 items which are good running will give you 80% of the turnover, but still you cannot close down other lines because they are not giving the turnover. You cannot do that because sometimes just for presence you need to produce something. Like suppose I'm manufacturing, say, beverages. Now I have 6 flavors ready with me, or I can produce 6 flavors. Out of 6 flavors, just 3 are running well and 3 are not running well. But I cannot discontinue those 3 because I have to show to the customer that I have 6 flavors and you can choose from these 6 flavors. He will choose whatever he wants, but it gives pleasure to the customer that I had 6 options and I choose from 6 instead of if you just have three, then he's choosing one from just three options, then he will complain like, no, I don't got enough options, so I have to purchase this. He may complain like that. So just for the showcasing, you may have you may have to run 6 flavors. So that's exactly happens. Like 80% of the turnover will come just from the 20% of the items, and remaining 80% of the items will give you just 20% of the turnover. But just you have to run it. Like sometimes to keep relations, sometimes just for showcasing, or sometimes just to give options to the customers. Like when I was working in my earlier company, so one item, one particular customer only used to order that item, and it was, the quantity was so low that even it was not being produced at the factory. In R&D center only, we used to make it and deliver it. The quantity was so low, but just to maintain the relation, we need to make that and supply it. So likewise, 80% of the items will not give you that much turnover. It is just the numbers. So here is the example. Like store has 12,000 different types of items, which is worth of 8 lakhs of rupees. Now 20% of that 12,000 items is 2,400. So these 2,400 items will give you 80% of the turnover. Out of 8 lakhs, you will get 6,40,000 from just 20% of the items. So concentrating on these 20% items, that is 2,400 items, will result in tight control over your total value, or tight control over your inventory cost. So if you control these 20% items which are giving you 80% turnover, then you will have control over all the inventory cost. Here, although it 80-20 rule, like it's a thumb rule, it's not hard and fast. Like it may not be always case like 20% of the stock is giving you 80% of the turnover, but you have to stick to the turnover. Like whatever turnover you are getting, or whatever numbers you are getting close to 80%, so you have to concentrate on that 80% turnover which you are getting from any n number of items, and you have to control inventory of those items who are giving you 80% of the turnover. So when I will take more example, it will be more clear to you.